Incidentally, I know it's not your name, but do you mind if I call you Mr. Care for the purpose of this exercise?
Sure, go ahead.
Right, Mr. Care. What do you think about that fellow's attitude?
Suicidal. I mean, how stupid can you get? No customers, no business. No business, no wages. No wages, well, you're dead. He can't deny that, can he?
Let's ask the man himself. I'm sorry to bother you again.
What is it now?
I was wondering if you'd elucidate.
Oh, what?
I mean, why don't you think much of the idea of customer care?
I'll tell you why, mate. Because it's a waste of time and money. My time and your money. I've got enough to do without bowing and scraping around customers. But if you want to go throwing your money around, that's your lookout. Personally, I think you'd be better off spending it on improving more important things.
Hard words. Funnily enough, I don't disagree. To improve his side of the operation, which means improving the services he can offer the customers, before he can start thinking about customer care. To show you what I mean, let's take a hard, critical look at the setup Mr. Couldn't Care Less works in, eh?
Oh, not again. What do you want now?
We've come to take a look around, just to see if there's any room for improvement.
There's nothing wrong with this place, mate. Nothing at all.
I don't suppose you bring customers into this office, do you?
Certainly. Why not?
Well, to be frank, it looks more like the bottom of a baby's pram than an office.
Oh, well, to be frank.
I intend to be. Shall we look at the rest of the place?
Look, mate, I haven't got time for games. You go and play on your own, eh?
I thought you might say that. So to save time, I brought along a model of the premises, accurate down to the last oil stain. Recognize it?
Yes, obviously. But don't you think you're being a bit ridiculous going to all this bother?
Well, first impressions are important, especially for attracting new custom. And the first impression we get here isn't so hot, is it? Old tires and oil cans left lying about, peeling paintwork, tatty sign.
This is a workplace, you know.
Right, but it's got to be a showplace too, and even a workplace doesn't have to be a mess. Potential customers can be put right off by untidiness. And it isn't all that hard to tidy the place up and keep it tidy. And what about a coat of paint? Touch the sign up at the same time.
Paint costs money.
Which would be well spent. You wouldn't expect to sell a car with a bad paint job and stuff scattered all over the seats. Why should you expect to sell the services of a place looking like this instead of this? And while we're on appearances, this reception area is pretty doomy, isn't it? What about something a bit more cheerful than this tired old cream and green? Instead of these tatty old relics, let's have a couple of modern but comfortable chairs, and a couple of potted plants wouldn't come amiss. Well, what do you think?
Oh, talk about palm cool.
Oh, I see. You think this is preferable to this.
No, don't put words into my mouth. What I am saying is this. When someone brings a car into me for repair, he's not interested in how nice the place looks, but how fast he's going to get his car back, right?
All right.
All this tightening up doesn't make a blind bit of difference to the service, does it?
You're right, of course. So let's take a look at the layout of the service area. Yes. Fascinating.
You can do better, I suppose.
I think so. This car lift, for example, it's very handy for a bloke driving straight in, but everybody else has to do a detour around it. This could be moved. I presume this wasteful use of space for your bays is due to the cars having to come out the same way they went in, eh?
Right, but there's nothing you can do about it, is there?
Yes, there is. Look, put a wide gangway straight down the middle with bays either side. Any car coming or going now has free access.
Hold it, but they still have to come out the same way.
Not if you make an exit here.
Do you mean knock a wall down?
A part of it, yes. This spot of land at the back here is yours, and you're not using it properly. Now a car can flow straight through, and it can be parked here when it's completed, instead of taking up space in the workshop where space is at a premium.
But my parts store is there.
Well, it'd be much better inside, where the mechanics won't have so far to walk. Remember that the workshop is the parts store's biggest customer, and parts delays can lose customers just as easily as poor servicing.
But my parts store's always been there.
Well, it's about time it was put somewhere more central, like here. So you see, if the layout were altered to this, there'd be no bottlenecks. And no bottlenecks means you could put more jobs through.
Steady on. The lads have got all they can handle right now, and we're not in the market for another mechanic, I can tell you.
You wouldn't need another technician.
Oh, we're using fancy words like technician now, are we?
A man who can operate something as highly technical as an engine analyzer is a technician for my money.
Well, not for mine. I told you, I can't afford any more of my wages bill. It's big enough already.
And I'm trying to tell you that you'd get more work for the same wages. And it wouldn't be a matter of slave driving either. It'd simply be a bigger throughput of work because time wastage would be cut by improving the lines of communication and supply.
You're making it sound like a military operation. The lads here wouldn't stand for a lot of bull.
Well, I don't blame them. No, there's nothing military about it. A closer comparison would be with a big restaurant. A customer coming in for a meal is very like a customer coming in with a car repair. Both want good, fast service and good value for money. Now, the service manager plays a similar role to the head waiter, who has to keep an eye on what's cooking in the kitchen. And the service manager has to be able to see what is going on in the workshops. It is the head waiter's responsibility to see that the customer is served as quickly as possible, consistent with quality, of course. The service manager has the same responsibilities, so it's essential that he's located not only where he can oversee the flow of jobs through the workshop, but also where he's within easy reach of reception. Another thing, while we're on about lines of communication, when a customer is paying, whether it's for a meal or a car repair, he hates to be kept waiting for his bill. So this office here, where the paperwork is done, is too far away from reception for really fast bill presentation. They should be next door to each other, if possible, and it's quite possible here.
You're stretching it a bit. Compare this outfit to a restaurant.
A bit, but not all that far. A well-run restaurant is a matter of teamwork, with everybody from the proprietor to the chef, from the cashier to the dishwasher, knowing his job and doing it well. A well-run dealership is built up by the same sort of teamwork because customer care must involve every member of staff. Like a restaurant, you want to build up a clientele of steady customers. That's the real incentive, to keep your customers and keep them coming back again and again. Like a restaurant, if you don't give them what they order and provide fast service and good value for money, then they'll simply take their custom elsewhere.
Have you finished knocking my place about yet?
Well, I think that's more or less all our suggestions on the place itself, yes. They may not look all that revolutionary, and they aren't really, but the new setup will work better as well as look better than the old one. I think you'll give me that, yes?
Well, I suppose so. But, you know, I doubt whether the customers would really notice.
Well, I'm pretty sure they would. But let's get back to something they definitely would notice. Customer care.
Oh, good. You're not on that again.
Well, now we've got the nuts and bolts part sorted out, let's talk about customer contact.
Some other time, Squire. I've got work to do. Come on.
All right. Not the easiest man to convince, Mr. Couldn't Care Less, but we'll go back to him later. Actually, he's not really against our suggestions. He's just against the idea of having to stir himself and do something about them. Apathy. That's what eats into potential profits. Now, it's no good being apathetic about customer care. It just wouldn't work. I'd be the first to admit that putting customer care into practice takes much more thought and effort, lot more than a couldn't care less attitude. But the rewards are very satisfying, and we don't mean from a financial point of view only. There is a greater satisfaction in the job itself. Before you give a cynical laugh, let me show you what I mean. We've talked a bit about the service manager, who is the important man behind the scene. Now let's talk about the important man in front of the scene, the man the customer sees and deals with. This is the reception engineer. Now, he is the kingpin of the whole setup as far as customer care is concerned. There are many aspects to the reception engineer's job, but the 5 most important operations he performs for the customer are: 1, reception of customer; 2, interpreting customer's requirements; 3, giving delivery time and, when specifically requested, the approximate cost; 4, handing over completed vehicle; 5, keeping contact with the customer both during and after the job. And the same theme runs through all these operations, and that theme is personalized service. The customer must always be made to feel that he is dealing with a friendly person, whom he knows by name and who he knows is on his side, instead of handing over his precious car to some anonymous character who is pretty unconcerned about the whole deal. Let's see how these 5 functions of the reception engineer should be and should not be carried out. Mr. Karrier himself is our reception engineer for our How to Do It reception of customer the right way. The reception engineer makes the customer feel very welcome, puts him at his ease, introduces himself by name, gives his card in case of any queries from the customer, asks him not to hesitate to get in touch at any time. In general, makes the customer feel that nothing is too much trouble. Now, reception of customer the wrong way. The customer is kept hanging about until somebody from the workshop can spare the time to drop in. He doesn't bother to introduce himself, since looking after the customer isn't his problem. And he doesn't show much concern for the customer and his problem. Not exactly the sort of reception to make a customer feel very confident. Interpreting the customer's requirements the right way. A lot of expertise may be called for here, since the customer may not be a mine of information.
Well, there's something wrong with it, but I just can't put my finger on it. You know what I mean?
A fair amount of sympathy may be called for, too.
It's just, well, it's just not pulling like it used to.
Or even a flash of inspiration.
There I am, bowling along, and suddenly there's this noise.
What sort of noise?
Well, it's a sort of slight clattering noise. Does that help?
Well, it might. Now, are there any other symptoms?
When the engineer has arrived at what seems to be a reasonable interpretation, then he checks it with the customer.
Now, if I could just run through the jobs to be done. We have to reset the timing, adjust the tappets, clean out and adjust the carburetor, adjust the brakes all round, and last but not least, a road test. Is that correct, sir?
Well, it sounds fine.
Well, now we know what the customer wants. The next step is to ascertain which jobs are chargeable and which are not. If it's a warranty claim, it's a good idea to refresh the customer's memory about what his warranty rights are, and to explain which part of the work is covered by warranty and which part has to be charged to him. This prevents any misunderstandings later. The job instructions must now be written clearly and unmistakably on either a repair order instruction form or a warranty repair order, whichever is applicable. Let's say it's a chargeable repair. Here is how an efficient reception engineer completes the repair order instruction form. First, name, address, and telephone numbers. Second, full information about the vehicle. This information can be taken down immediately when the customer makes a telephone appointment, thus cutting down the time, filling in the form later. Next thing is to establish whether it's to be a cash or credit transaction, which saves any embarrassment later. Obviously, unless the man is an account customer, cash transactions are preferable. But the reception engineer must establish this diplomatically. Customers resent even the hint that their checks might bounce.
Okay, sir, and we'll have the bill all ready for cash settlement when you come in to collect the car.
The details of the job are now filled in accurately, completely, and legibly, providing the technician who has to carry out the job with clear instructions, plus all the information he needs. So, that's the reception of the customer and the interpretation of his requirements as it ought to be done. Compare this with the wrong way, the sort of reception the customer would get at Mr. Couldn't Care Less's place.
Then suddenly there's this noise.
Get away.
Yes, it's a sort of faint clattering noise.
Don't like the sound of that, me old mate.
Peace up, Charlie.
And then sometimes it's...
That's even worse.
Can you cure it?
Oh, I wouldn't like to say.
Instead of feeling his car is in competent hands, the customer is now feeling distinctly uneasy. Let's return to our good reception engineer for the next operation he has to do, estimating. Estimating the time required for a job is perhaps the most difficult and certainly one of the most important parts of the reception engineer's responsibilities. The first step is to refer to the manufacturer's standard times. But the time given there will obviously be affected by the availability of specific skills in the workshop at that particular moment. He'll be right up to the minute with his information because He is not only a technical man, he is also a salesman. What he is selling is labor, and to do this, he must know how much labor he has for sale and how much has been sold. One simple way of recording this is to have a chart of hours available. This can be broken down into job areas such as mechanical, electrical, body and paint, and so on. Or it can be split up into the types of labor available: skilled, semi-skilled, electricians, and so forth. Another thing you've got to consider is the availability of parts. The reception engineer has to consider all these factors in the light of his own experience before he can arrive at a time. The more accurately he estimates, the better everybody is pleased. The customer collects his car when it was promised, so he's happy. And because each job is booked in as a specific number of hours, rather than just another job, the job loading in the workshop is neither too much nor too little, which means that technicians are not kept hanging about for the next job. If you want to be efficient and profitable, accurate estimating is all important. For instance, if we go to Mr. Couldn't-Care-Less's place, the estimating there is very hit and miss, usually miss. They talk in a special language, which has come to be known as garages. The customer asks Charlie here a straight question.
When will my car be ready?
Charlie may pretend to do a bit of calculation.
What are we today? Tuesday. Tuesday, right? Well, there's engine to be tuned, brakes looked at, overdrive replaced. Yeah, I shouldn't wonder, should be ready by Thursday.
What he means is, it might be ready by Friday afternoon. And when he says,
Yeah, you can have it Friday, no fail.
what he really means is, you'll be lucky to get it by Monday. And then only if someone feels like working on it over the weekend. If the customer is trusting enough to turn up at the time promised,
Is my car ready?
he gets fobbed off with one excuse
Can't get a part, Squire.
or another.
Our electric bloke went down with flu too. Sorry.
Well, when will it be ready?
The customer may have to accept this, but he is now unhappy and beginning to build up resentment. If he gets fobbed off again, he may turn nasty. Let's get back to the right way of doing things. Our reception engineer has filled in the details of the job, and he's given a firm delivery time. Finally, he gets the customer to sign the form which authorizes the work to be carried out and details the conditions of contract. Now, what happens when the reception engineer passes the job instructions to the workshop? First of all, it's very important to give the right job to the right technician. Work requiring first-class skills should go to the most experienced technician. Run-of-the-mill jobs can be given to the semi-skilled. It's pointless giving a difficult job to an apprentice, and it's plain uneconomic to waste the expertise of a skilled man on an unskilled job. One way of matching the man to the job is to have a workshop loading chart. This enables each job to be loaded either by skill or by labor area in a logical sequence from first operation right through to the last. This workshop loading chart, used in conjunction with the technician's efficiency chart, enables you to discover the progress of any particular job and to calculate when the vehicle will be completed in relation to the quoted delivery time. It needn't be anything fancy, a sheet of paper and pencil, or perhaps chalk and blackboard are all you need. We're not suggesting playing around with charts just for the fun of it. We're not in business for fun, we're in it for the profit. No profit, no business. No business, no job. These charts, used intelligently, can increase profitability. All that a workshop has to sell is labor, the time of its skilled men. The hours sold are paid for by the customer. The hours bought are paid for by the dealer, and he has to pay for them in the way of wages and overheads, whatever the throughput of work happens to be. Now, ideally, the hours sold and the hours bought would be the same figure. This never happens, or very, very rarely, mainly due to what is known as waiting time. Waiting time comes in all shapes and sizes. Waiting at the parts store, waiting for the job, waiting for technical information, people away on technical courses. And the more waiting time there is, the less profit there is. What charts do is to pinpoint this waiting time. Once you know the precise nature of it, you can usually find a cure. Now, from various reports, it appears that the efficiency of the average service department is 65%, with some as low as 40%. By making better use of the hours bought, there's no reason why efficiency should not be boosted to the region of 85%, just by using your loaf and the information on the charts. Anyway, that's enough about charts. Let's return to the customers. Let's talk a little about customer contact, a very important aspect of customer care. Sometimes, for example, it isn't possible to give an accurate, on-the-spot estimate of all the work required. Extra jobs may be found necessary during the course of repair, or it may prove to be more complicated than you first thought, or things may just go wrong. Our conscientious reception engineer gets in touch immediately if the job is going to take longer, demand more expensive parts, or cost more than was estimated. Not only does this reassure the customer that the engineer is keeping an interested eye on his car, but it avoids the suspicion that he is being conned into unnecessary expense. He will appreciate that you are concerned on his behalf, and this friendly customer contact has turned a problem into a dealership advantage. It's also sound policy to hand over to the customer any old parts which have been replaced when he comes to pick up his car. Of course, some parts are too bulky to hand over, but they should be available if the customer definitely asks to see them. The customer is reassured and will continue to be a customer. He'll never be bothered by anyone from Mr. Couldn't Care Less's office ringing him about anything. And if the customer anxiously rings them to find out if his car has been dealt with, then he doesn't get a very reassuring reception.
Hang on a bit. You still there? There's no answer from his office. He must have nipped out for a quick one. Will you wait?
And even when he does finally get through...
Yeah? Can you spell that?
But Smith? S-M-I-T-H.
Smith. No, it doesn't ring a bell. What sort of car did you say it was?
An Avenger, a white Avenger, registration number...
Hold it. One thing at a time. Who do you give it to?
Oh, I don't know, he didn't give me his name. He was a young bloke with dark hair. He had a bit of a moustache, too.
Dark hair and a bit of a moustache? No, it doesn't sound like one of my blokes.
Look, wait a minute. I think I heard somebody call him Charlie.
Oh, Charlie, why didn't you say? I sacked him yesterday. No, I'll tell a lie. It was his mate I sacked.
The customer could be in a state of shock by this time, and when he finally does get his car back, he gets another nasty shock. The bill comes to far more than he expected, and he's being asked to pay for services or parts he never specified in the first place. By this time, the customer is disgruntled, dissatisfied, and pretty cheesed off with the whole setup. He may pay up, but he isn't going to be back unless it's with a complaint. The customer now has his own painful anecdote to add to the saga of disgraceful garage servicing in the Motoring Witch Report, which I'm sure you've all heard about. A lot of the public have heard about it too, and they'll be warier than ever of being charged for something they don't want, or what is worse, for parts and services which are not supplied at all. The customer is more suspicious than before, and it's up to us, every one of us, to prove the suspicions unfounded. There'll always be some complaints, of course. Even the best-run place has to cope with an annoyed customer, and it's in this delicate area that the right attitude can save an awful lot of bother. Whether the complaint is justified or not, by the time the customer comes tearing into reception, he's got a fair head of steam on, and he needs tactful handling.
Typical. The reception's as bad as the maintenance in this place.
In a large dealership, there would normally be someone whose job it is to deal with these situations, but in smaller outfits, it is still essential to delegate this function of ombudsman to somebody.
An ombudsman? Where do you think I'd get one of them?
Well, it should be the most diplomatic member of your staff. Somebody who's good at dealing with people.
You would like to show us how it's done, would you?
All right. I don't mind. Yes, sir.
Oh, there you are. Look, I have just paid £12 to this garage. 12 good.
Each complaint has to be handled on its merits, of course. But one piece of advice remains constant, and that is, listen to the customer. Listening is best done in an office where he won't upset the other customers. Please sit down, sir. Please sit down. Or it may be done by going out to the customer's car with him, demonstrating that there is no suggestion of staying behind the protection of any barricade. This willingness to come to him, combined with lending a sympathetic ear, has a remarkable effect, even on the most irate customers, probably because it's so unexpected. If, on the other hand, you meet aggression with aggression and start having a ding-dong with the customer, then a bad situation can only get worse.
And I'm telling you, you never even touched the bloody brakes.
Don't you swear at me.
Swear at you. Do you realize I could have bought it just because you were so idle? You wouldn't do what I asked you.
I'm going if you're going to be nasty.
You go and have your tea, eh, Charlie boy? Now then, son, what's your problem?
My car was handed back to me in a dirty and dangerous condition.
Oh, I can't believe that. Charlie's one of my best
Charlie
friends.
is an idle, dim-witted,
That's
tree-swilling...
enough. On your way,
Oh,
son.
don't worry, I'm going. And I'm not coming back.
Promise? Temper!
Customer care is not exclusively a service problem. In fact, it starts in the sales department. In Mr. Care's establishment, he is just as meticulous about new vehicle preparation as he is about repairing a car. The reason is obvious. If you treat a new car buyer well, prepare the vehicle well, and give it a first-class 500-mile service, then you've got a customer for life. And that really is what customer care is all about. Let's watch Mr. Care in action. The car is thoroughly checked. Points he especially looks for are that it's been de-waxed properly, that the door hinges are oiled, the tools are packed and stowed, and that the whole vehicle is clean. If there does happen to be some small thing he can't put right before the customer takes delivery, he points out the blemish and assures the customer that it will be rectified on the 500-mile check under warranty. He introduces the customer to his reception engineer, who ensures that the customer stays a customer by keeping close and interested contact with him. He phones the customer rather than sending a card or letter when it's time for the car to be serviced. Cards get lost or forgotten.
Well, yes, I suppose it is. Thanks for the reminder. I'll drop in with it next Monday. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
The personalized touch again, you see. The customer feels cared for. But when Mr. Couldn't Care Less is selling a car, he is anxious only to get the customer's signature onto paper and the car off the premises. He leaves the customer to discover any faults for himself. Or, what is worse, for his friends to find out for him. Another thing Mr. Care makes a point of doing is explaining the controls of a new car. Now, this is very important, especially when there's some new or unfamiliar feature.
And these are the rotary switches, of course. Now, the steering column lock is a bit unusual. The one key unlocks the steering, switches on the ignition, and starts the car. And the seat adjustment is done with this bar across the front. Well, I think that's about the lot, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Care.
Mr. Couldn't Care Less doesn't bother about such tiresome details as the controls of a car. Now he's got the customer's money, he hopes that's the last he'll see of him. A bit sharp getting him off the premises, aren't you?
Only way to do business, boy. Take a bit of getting used to, don't you?
Customer care does pay off, you see. And Chrysler have got a lot of very good stuff to get the point across. All the material is available for you to use when and where you like.
Blimey. What's all this then?
You'll find out soon enough, matey. And you can go and get yourself cleaned up for a start.
Well, it's a start. But remember, customer care is more than just a poster. You've got to back it up with action all the way. And when you do, Chrysler will be backing you up all the way.